Same city, same year, same starting salary. Two people begin their adult lives at almost exactly the same point. Same age, same rent, same number in the bank. From the outside, nothing separates them. They shop at the same stores. They eat at similar places. They both work hard, and they both get tired. But one of them knows something the other one does not. Not a secret, not a trick, not something hidden behind a paywall or reserved for people who grew up wealthy. Just basic financial knowledge. The kind that tells you what to do with money when it arrives, how to keep more of it, how to make it work when you are not looking, and how to avoid the traps that are specifically designed to take it from you quietly. That one difference, that one gap in understanding, quietly splits their lives into two completely separate stories. Not immediately, not with any dramatic moment. Just slowly, the way two roads that start beside each other eventually end up miles apart. This video is both of those stories told at the same time. You are sitting somewhere watching this right now. Drop a comment and tell me the time and the place. Wherever you are in the world, I want to know. Because this story might be yours. One version of it already is. The only question is which one. Section 2. The first paycheck. The first real paycheck arrives for both of them. For the one without financial knowledge, it feels like a rival, like the beginning of the life they have been waiting for. The number is not large, but it is real, and it is theirs, and it feels like permission. Permission to finally get the things they have been putting off. The shoes, the upgrade. At the dinner out that does not require checking the price first. The feeling of having money is so new and so good that the idea of not spending it feels almost wasteful. There is no plan for what comes next. Next month will bring another paycheck. That is the plan. For the one with financial knowledge, the first paycheck also feels good, but it arrives with a framework already in place. Before it is spent on anything, it is divided. A percentage goes to a savings account automatically. A small amount goes toward an investment, modest and boring and completely unglamorous. The rest covers necessities and a reasonable amount of living. The split takes maybe 10 minutes to set up. It is not painful. It does not require sacrifice that feels like suffering. It is just a decision made once that then runs quietly in the background without requiring any further attention. Two people, same paycheck. One builds a habit that will compound for decades. The other builds a feeling that fades by the following Thursday. The gap has already begun. Neither of them can feel it yet. Section 3. Debt. Debt is where the two lives start to visibly separate. The one without financial knowledge encounters debt the way most people do. A credit card to cover a gap. A car loan because the monthly payment seemed manageable even if the total cost was not something they thought about clearly. A buy, now pay, later option that seemed harmless because the item was small. None of these feel like mistakes when they happen. Each one feels like a solution. A bridge between where they are and where they need to be. The problem is that the bridge has a toll and the toll compounds. The minimum payment covers the interest and almost nothing else. The balance barely moves. The credit card that covered one emergency is now a fixture in their monthly budget, a permanent line item that cannot be removed because removing it would require money they do not have. Debt without knowledge is a slow ceiling. It does not crush you immediately. It just gets a little lower every year. The one with financial knowledge also encounters debt, but they encounter it differently. They understand the actual cost of borrowing, not just the monthly payment, but the total amount paid over the full term. They know the difference between debt that builds something and debt that funds a moment. They pay off high-interest balances first, a method that saves them hundreds on the way out. They do not avoid debt entirely. They use it deliberately. One person is managed by debt, the other manages it. Section 4. The emergency. At some point in both lives, something breaks. The car, the tooth. The landlord raising the rent by $400 on 30 days' notice. The emergency does not ask for permission. It does not wait until the timing is convenient. It arrives on a Tuesday when the bank account is thinner than usual and the week still has 5 days left in it. For the one without financial knowledge, the emergency is a crisis. There is no buffer. The savings account, if it exists at all, holds maybe $300 because it was, it was always the last priority, the thing money would go to once everything else was covered, which meant it never really got anything. The emergency goes on the credit card. The credit card now carries a balance. The balance charges interest. Next month is slightly harder than this month was. The pattern repeats. The emergency did not just cost money, it cost momentum. It set back whatever small progress had been made and added a new weight to carry forward. For the one with financial knowledge, the same emergency happens. The same bill arrives. But sitting behind a separate account, untouched and boring and completely unspectacular, is an emergency fund. 3 months of expenses held in a high-yield savings account, doing nothing dramatic, just existing and waiting. The emergency is paid. The account refills over the following months. Life continues without interruption. The difference is not income, the difference is preparation. Section 5. Spending. Both people spend money. That is not the difference. The difference is what the spending is actually doing. For the one without financial knowledge, spending happens reactively. When money is present, it moves. Toward comfort, toward relief, toward the version of life that feels normal when you compare it to the people around you. The streaming services multiply quietly. The food delivery becomes a default, not a treat. The car gets upgraded before it needed to be because the new payment felt similar to the old one and nobody calculated the total difference over 5 years. The apartment is slightly more expensive than necessary because the nicer neighbourhood felt like a reasonable reward for working hard. Each individual decision is defensible. Together, they form a pattern that ensures the month always ends before the money does. For the one with financial knowledge, spending is intentional, not joyless, not obsessive, just directed. They track where money goes, not to punish themselves, but to stay honest. They understand the difference between spending that improves their life and spending that performs a version of their life for other people. They keep fixed costs low so that variable spending has room to breathe. They enjoy money. They just do not let it disappear without knowing where it went. Same income. One person always feels behind. The other always feels like there is enough. The math is identical. The awareness is not. Section 6. Investing. This is the section where the distance between the two lives becomes irreversible if left too long. The one without financial knowledge thinks investing is for people who already have money. It is something that happens later, after the debt is gone, after the raise comes through, after things settle down a bit. Investing feels complicated, risky, and distant. The 401k at work has a default contribution rate that nobody changed from the day they were hired, because nobody explained what it actually was or why it mattered. Time passes. The money that could have been compounding quietly for years sits in a checking account, earning nothing, spending itself on nothing in particular, gone by the end of each month without having built anything lasting. For the one with financial knowledge, investing starts early and starts small. $100 a month into a simple low-cost index fund. Automated, unremarkable, completely invisible in daily life. They do not try to pick stocks. They do not chase trends. They do not need to understand every detail of how markets work. They understand one thing clearly. Time in the market, even with a small amount, does more work than a large amount started late. They also contribute enough to their employer retirement account to capture the full match. This is free money. The one without knowledge is leaving it on the table every single month without realizing it. At 40, one person has a growing investment account that has been compounding for 15 years. The other is starting from zero, finally ready, finally stable enough to begin. 15 years of compounding cannot be recovered. It can only be replaced with something harder. Section 7. The job. Both people work. Both of them show up. Both of them have bills that require the paycheck to keep coming. But their relationship to the job is completely different. For the one without financial knowledge, the job is not optional. It is not a choice. It is the only thing standing between their current life and a version of their life that does not work. This is not dramatic. It is just true. When the expenses equal the income and the savings account holds almost nothing, the job becomes a cage with good lighting. You stay not because you want to, but because leaving requires a runway you do not have. When the boss is difficult, you absorb it. When the opportunity that requires 6 months of lower income appears, you cannot take it. When the layoff comes, which it eventually does for almost everyone, it is not an inconvenience. It is an emergency. For the one with financial knowledge, the job is still necessary, but it is not a trap. A savings buffer, a low expense base, and a small but growing investment account change the psychological relationship to employment entirely. They can negotiate from a position of mild security rather than desperation. They can leave a situation that is not working. They can take a risk on something new because the downside is survivable. Financial knowledge does not just change your bank account. It changes your choices. It changes who has power in the room. Section 8. Relationships and money. Money does not cause relationship problems. Financial pressure does. The one without financial knowledge carries that pressure into every close relationship they have. The stress of a bank account that does not quite work is present at the dinner table, in the conversations about the future, in the arguments that are nominally about something else, but are actually about feeling stuck. Partners who do not share a financial framework argue about spending without ever addressing the real issue, which is that nobody built a plan, and now both of them are managing the consequences of that absence. Major life decisions get made by default rather than by design. The apartment is chosen based on what is affordable this month, not on what supports a longer-term goal. The family timeline gets pushed or pressured by finances rather than by readiness. Generosity, which both people want to feel, is constrained by scarcity that feels permanent even when it is not. For the one with financial knowledge, money is still a topic of conversation in relationships, but it is a productive one. There is a shared language, a rough plan, a sense of direction that reduces the ambient pressure that financial uncertainty creates. They can be generous because they have built the margin to be. They can make decisions together because those decisions sit inside a framework rather than landing in a void. Financial knowledge does not guarantee a good relationship, but the absence of it creates a specific and avoidable kind of strain. Section 9. The decade mark. 10 years have passed for both of them. From the outside, they may still look similar. Same general lifestyle, same age, same city. One might have a slightly nicer car. One might live in a slightly larger apartment. The surface differences are not necessarily dramatic. But underneath the surface, and the numbers tell two completely different stories. The one without financial knowledge has spent the decade working hard and having very little to show for it structurally, not because they failed, not because they were lazy or irresponsible, but because nobody taught them the rules and the rules were running against them the whole time. The debt is still present, maybe different debt than where it started, but debt nonetheless. The investment account is thin or non-existent. The emergency fund gets built and depleted in a cycle that never quite breaks. The net worth, the actual number that represents the difference between what they own and what they owe, has barely moved. The one with financial knowledge has a different set of numbers. The investment started with $100 a month, and automated contributions have been running quietly for 10 years. The compounding is now visible. The debt is either gone or structured and manageable. The emergency fund has never been touched for anything other than actual emergencies and has been rebuilt every time. They have options they did not have at the start. Not because their income was higher, because the decisions were different. 10 years, same starting point, two completely different positions. The gap is not closed easily from here, but it is still closable. Section 10. The moment it can change. The second life can change. That is the part that matters most. Financial knowledge is not something you are born with or without. It is not assigned at birth. And it is not locked to income level or education or the family you came from. It is information, and information can be acquired at any point by anyone and applied immediately with real results. The moment it changes is not a dramatic one. It does not require a crisis or a rock bottom or a life-altering event. It requires a decision, a quiet one. The decision to learn the rules of the game that has been running in the background of your life, whether you understood it or not. That decision looks like reading one clear book about personal finance. It looks like sitting down with 3 months of bank statements and a highlighter and being honest about the pattern. It looks like opening an investment account with whatever small amount is available right now, not waiting for the right amount, not waiting for the debt to be gone, and not waiting for the timing to be perfect, because the timing is never perfect. It looks like understanding that the gap between the two lives in this video is not talent, not luck, not circumstance. It is knowledge applied over time, and the time to apply it is always the same. It is now. It was always now. Section 11. Closing. Here is what this comes down to, said as simply as possible. Financial knowledge is not about getting rich. It is not about becoming a different kind of person or living a life that looks impressive from the outside. It is about having options, about not being trapped by decisions made in the absence of information, about making the money you already earn do more than just survive the month it arrived in. The two lives in this video are not hypothetical. They are happening right now in parallel, all around you. So people at the same income level, in the same city, with the same opportunities, living completely different versions of financial reality. Not because of luck, because of what they know and what they do with it. You are watching this. That means something. It means you are already doing the thing that separates one life from the other. You are paying attention. You are learning the rules. You are taking the first step that the other version of this life never took. Keep going. The compounding works on knowledge the same way it works on money. The more you understand, the better the decisions get. The better the decisions get, the more options you have. The more options you have, the freer you become. Drop a comment. Tell me the time and the place you are watching this from. And tell me which part of this landed for you. Or the gap between the two lives closes one decision at a time. That decision starts now.